Coach Grubbs' impressive win Friday night over the Girard Yellow Jackets. Let's start by talking about the opening drive by the Yellow Jackets that made it inside the 2, first down, first and goal. The Blue Devils didn't give up another inch, but drove them back and took over on downs. Did that set the tone for the game?
I think so. You give a team a week to prepare, and they had us scouted out pretty well. Take some time to adjust to a new offense, who you're looking at and who you're going against. It took us a while to do so. Girard's a good team. They got a higher powered offense. They score a lot of points. So we knew going into the game they were going to move the ball. We weren't going to hold them without any yardage for the whole game. So, but the kids stepped up really well. They made 4 great plays in a row. 2 stuffed the ball and run twice in the middle. Blaine made a great job knocking down that 3rd down pass, and then Brody on the blitz did a nice job keeping his feet in the wet conditions. I think it was one of those things where with that kind of game, with that kind of team, with that kind of the weather that was going on at that point in time, it took the kids a while to adjust. But once they did, they set the tone and they continued that way for the rest of the game.
This was really the first passing team we've had to be up against this season, and the results were pretty impressive. A lot of pressure on the quarterback, including 6 sacks, and the Blue Devils had 4 interceptions. You must be pleased with the defense in this game.
The defense has been doing great all year. We saw some of this against West Middlesex. They threw the ball against us quite a bit, but they did try to run the ball a little more than what Girard did. But it all starts up front, between Zach and Blaine on the ends and Brad and Patrick in the middle and Tommy some on Friday night. They get great pressure on the quarterback, which allows Coach Turner to throw extra blitzes. You look at our blitzers, most of the time they're coming free because the guys up front are taking care of all the blockers to start with. And it really makes things nice. And then our D-backs, like I said, we expected them to move the ball. We didn't expect them to have, no completions for the game. But the defensive backs did a great job, with the 4 interceptions. It's something that, we can really build on for the rest of the season, because this isn't the last team we're going to see that plays like that. Once we get in the playoffs, we could very well see the same thing. So it was a good test for us and a good effort by the defense.
Were you surprised by the success of the offense? They racked up some pretty big numbers on Friday night.
You know what? We've done it all year, and the kids are pretty consistent. And it goes from game to game. You look early in the year, we had a little more success maybe with other people. Everybody's always keen on Zach. Zach's had a couple big games in a row. We were able to throw the ball a couple times, and those weather conditions, you don't expect to be able to complete a lot of passes. But the 2 passes we did complete were big completions, especially in that first drive for us, getting us out of the hole, getting us out of the being close to our own end zone. And offensively, we're just we've been very consistent through the whole season. It was the same thing. They came out, they scouted us well. They shut us down on that first drive, but we were able to make our adjustments up front on the line of scrimmage, and then in the passing game, and we were able to do what we normally do and score some points.
The line on both sides of the balls played a pretty important role.
Oh, absolutely. They have really stepped up this year. They're a good solid line. I'll match them up about anybody. And I think we'll be okay.
Friday night, Chris Silbaugh went over 1,000 yards receiving in his career, and that's the first time that's happened in Blue Devil history. Zach Stafford became the leading all-time rusher, passing Josh Hobson. And I heard Zach in both the post-game huddle and the interview with the newspaper give his line the credit for his success. This is a team, and they appear to play well as a unit and celebrate both the individual and team accomplishments with great pride in one another.
Absolutely. Chris, we're not, historically, we're not a big passing team, and that's continued. I thought we'd pass a little more this year, but we haven't had to. So to get 1,000 yards in his career, receiving is pretty good. Zach, what more can you say about him? He's worked hard throughout his career. As a freshman, he played wide out for us, and I think he had 30 catches or something like that as a freshman, and he moved to the backfield, and he's had a great career. He deserves everything. In terms of the team, they really are. They're focused on the wins, and they know the rest of it will come with time, and they are. Zach's a very humble kid, and he knows that if it wasn't for the big guys up front opening those holes, he wouldn't have the yardage that he does, and he's had the privilege of playing behind some pretty good lines over the last couple of years. Chris has had the privilege of having a couple pretty good quarterbacks throwing him the ball the past couple of years. So I think they understand that they wouldn't necessarily be where they are without everybody else around them, and I think the team as a whole understands, the wins come as the group works together. You know, the line up front opening holes for Zach gets him his records, but, you know, it also gets the team the wins, and that's what we're out to do.
I know on social media, as we've recognized those rewards and that, it's been encouraging to me how many of the other players are retweeting it or recognizing it. Want everybody to know that these guys are doing this, and I think they see their role in it too.
Oh, I think so, and it's one of those things where, you know, it's a great thing because, you know, as Zach racks up his yardage, Zach's also racking up touchdowns, and as Zach racks up touchdowns, we're racking up wins. So I think in the end, you know, the kids are proud of their teammates because of their accomplishments, but, you know, their teammates are helping them to get wins, and they're proud of their accomplishment as a whole.
This week we see the Union City Bears when they come to Baird Field, and for our seniors, it'll be the last time they play here. What should we expect to see Friday night?
Hopefully the same. Union City's a pretty good team. They're still in the playoff hunt, so they have to beat us if they want to remain in the playoff hunt. So I'm sure they're going to bring their best, but I know our kids will as well. You know, it's been a great season the past couple of years, and I know the seniors are ready to go, and they want to go out the right way on their home field for their last night. So I'm sure they're going to be ready to go. The team's going to be ready to go behind them, and we're going to come out and give our best.
A win Friday night would knock Union City out of the playoff contention. Is that a way to motivate your team?
Absolutely. You know, because that's going to be the way they're motivating their team. They're going to say, you know, we want to make the playoffs. We're going to have to beat Cambridge Springs, and you know, we're definitely going to say if you know they want to come try and beat us, we're going to knock them out of the playoffs when they come to our field too. So, you know, I don't think it's anything, you know, spectacular. I just think that, you know, they're going to use it as a goal for themselves, and we're going to use it as a goal for ourselves, that, you know, we're going to knock them out of the playoffs if we can, in order to continue on our goal of winning that region championship.
There's a lot of attention focused on Zach Stafford and Chris Silbaugh this year because of the records they're breaking, but there are a lot of bright spots on this team. Who are some of these players that we should be watching?
I mean, I could go on for a long time with this one. You know, just the unselfishness of our team's great. You look at a kid like Hunter, who, you know, was the center last year. He was a quarterback when Stevie went down. He did a fantastic job, and, you know, he's moved back to his receiver position as Stevie stepped in, and you know, he hasn't been out for anything, you know, but wins. He's done a great job out there. He catches the ball. You know, you look at film from last week. You know, a lot of those long runs by Zach. You know, Hunter's down the field and he's making blocks downfield, returning punts, and doing everything he can to help our team out. You know, he gets his touches when he can, but he's doing everything else we need him to do on defense, special teams, and everything else. You know, Stevie steps in at quarterback after missing last year, and he hasn't missed a beat. You know, when somebody's stacking up Zach, we're easily able to go to him. He's able to throw the ball. You know, and then you look at the guys up front, somebody like Devin Simpson, who's, you know, not the biggest kid in the world, wanted to play tight end, but was happy to move to center, and as far as I'm concerned, is the best center in the region. You know, some of the younger guys, Brad Stoger's been doing a great job defensively. You got Dustin Kingsley stepping in and starting at guard. You know, you got a couple of the upperclassmen like, you know, Josh Ebright, who's done a great job at left tackle for us. Patrick Johnson, who is just, you know, an immovable object in the middle of that defensive line. I mean, you can go from top to bottom. And I know I'm missing kids, but this team has just been great. No matter who you talk about, they're always stepping in, they're always doing their job, and it makes life easy on the coaching staff because, you know, if one person's not having the best game, we have no problem turning to somebody else who can step in and do the same thing.
Done the same thing on the defensive side of the ball as well.
Oh, absolutely. You know, Carter and Todd do a great job at linebacker. I think are, you know, from left to right, our linebacking crew's about as good as they come as a whole. You know, Devin on the same thing. You know, he's up there in region tackles, doing a great job. You know, in the defensive backfield, you got a young guy like Brody Schwab stepping in, playing deep at defensive back and safety for us, and he's done a great job this year too. So, I mean, I really can't say enough about, you know, I get comments all the time, you're doing a great job. Well, these kids really make it easy to do a good job. I mean, it's a quality team, they're quality kids, and, you know, they're out for a common goal, and it really makes my life and our coaches' lives a lot easier as a whole.
Coach, any thoughts on the seniors this year?
They're a great crew. You know, you hear about Zach and Chris, and they get the highlights, but everybody else has been wonderful too. You know, you got a returning, you know, all-conference player, offensive and defensively, and Blaine, who's just played, consistent, defense and offense for us all year. He's been great at defensive end and done a great job at tackle. You got somebody like Patrick, who's really busted his butt for 3 years, not gotten a ton of time, but really stepped up this year when he had the opportunity. Same thing with Josh Ebright, Simpson, who's doing a great job on defense, but stepped into a position he'd never played before this year at center. Stevie coming back, and Hunter. I mean, I can't say enough about this group that we're going to miss them a lot next year. So we would definitely want to come out this week and play for those 8 guys and make sure we come out on top.
Well, we're looking forward to this last home game of the year. Hard to believe it's already here, but any last words for the Blue Devil fans?
It is hard to believe we're already to week 8, and that Union City's coming this week. It was great last week. The weather was horrible, with all the hail and sleet and whatever nastiness it was in the first quarter, and we still had a huge crowd there, and the support has just been fantastic. So, keep coming out. We'll get one more in here against Union City, and then get ready to hopefully continue on our goal of winning that region championship next week in the big one against Iroquois.
Well, and this week they're calling for great weather on Friday, so hopefully that's what we'll see.
I hope so.